Welcome to the Brother Henry and You Show. I am your host, Henry Harris. Hello everyone, this is Henry Harris and you are watching the Brother Henry and You Show. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. I hope you had an amazing day. My day was amazing and I am so grateful for all of you that are tuning in and watching, for all of your support throughout the years. This year is going to be amazing because we're developing new subjects, new episodes just for you. And I'm so glad that I have the opportunity to do that and to help you in some way. I'm not no expert, I'm not a therapist, I'm not none of that. I'm just a young man that's just passionate about what I do, and I just want to help humanity in whatever purpose and whatever way I can on this planet or this earth. A thought came to my mind not too long ago, and that is dating complicated? I'll give you a second to ponder that. I thought about it. I don't know, I'm asking you, is dating, what crossed your mind when I gave you a few seconds to think about that? Do you think dating is complicated? And that's just pretty much what I want to come and talk to you about today. Because I believe that this is an ideal or issue that varies from person to person. Everybody has a different perspective of how they may view this. I'm just going to show you my thoughts from my experience and my perspective, and I hope it's helpful to you. First of all, we need to understand that dating is a beautiful thing. The desire to be committed to someone, to settle down with someone I think it's very wonderful. I believe it can be one of the most fulfilling things to find someone that not only that you like, but that you are compatible with. And while dating for some may be a wonderful experience, I believe oftentimes we ignore that there's a flip side to it as well, that for some it may not be as glamorous. You got some people that look at it and say dating is wonderful, I love it, I've never had a bad experience with dating. And you have other people that's like, my dating experience haven't always been so well. So I believe that before one even considers the concept or even the ideal of dating, they need to realize these two things. And these are two things that has helped me on my journey. If and when I date, these are some things that have helped me, and I think it'll help you too. It'll help you to stay realistic as well, because I think one of many reasons why dating can be complicated because we have unrealistic expectations. Number one, no human being is without flaw. That's the number one thing that has helped me throughout the dating process. No human being is without flaw. If you date, you can't go to, I want somebody that's perfect. I want somebody that's flawless and clean and just has no problems and no trauma, no issues. You're just not going to find it, okay? You're not going to find it. And number two, humanity as a whole is complicated. You may not admit it, but there's some things about you that's complicated. There's some things about you that are complex and difficult. Sometimes it's hard for us to deal with ourselves. We are difficult ourselves, more or less, connecting with somebody else, bringing ourselves into somebody else's space, just two complicated people two different people, two different backgrounds, trying to figure out this thing called dating or friendship or marriage. Nobody is perfect. I was speaking with someone not too long ago. Actually, it was a young lady. And I asked her, I said, I'm getting ready to do a show on is dating complicated. I just wanted to know your perspective. Do you think dating is complicated? And she told me this. She says, I don't think dating is complicated. However, I do think our perception of it is complicated. And I asked her why. She says, because sometimes many people are just not realistic about it. We have this idea or this thing in our mind of what a real date will look like or what real dating looks like. And sometimes when it doesn't meet our expectations, we all end up disappointed. And I love her response, and it is so true. We all know that life in itself is complicated. Life in itself can be hard. Dealing with our own self-worth and inadequacies and securities and can be difficult. I'm not talking about somebody else that you're dating. I'm talking about dealing with you can be difficult. Dealing with you can be hard. Just imagine for a second dealing with yourself and then having the courage to bring someone into your space that they may not have the same problems that you have, but you both got problems. You're both complicated in some instances. Just because life can be complicated, you should never allow the complications that you may experience in life to hinder you for future relationships and connections that you have with others. I hope you're enjoying today's broadcast today. Many say that dating is rough. How many of y'all have ever heard people say that dating is rough, dating is hard? They say the same thing about marriage. They say the same thing about some friendships. Why is that? And I can see why, because you have two different people from most of the time, two different cultures, two different backgrounds that have decided to unite themselves together. I always tell somebody that sometimes people are perfect for each other. I use the analogy of like when I was in school many years ago, we used to play with magnets in class. How many of y'all know what magnets are? We used to play with magnets, and if you put magnets, you got two magnets. If you put it on one side, it connects greatly. But if you put it on the opposite side, there's a strong resistance. No matter how much you try to work it out, it's just not going to work. They will not connect for any reason. I'll just put a pin in it right here and say this. Just because you've been in a relationship, and this is not in my notes, but I just feel led to say this. Just because you've been in a relationship and it didn't work out, your story has not ended, my friend. We often get discouraged. I've been there, where you try to pour out your heart to someone and you love someone and you care about someone. And for whatever reason, they decide to walk away. Or they decide that they didn't want to go through this journey called dating with you. It's okay. You know what always comes to my mind? They're not the only woman in the world. I know that may sound insensitive, but it's true. For you ladies who had a man that walked away, he's not the only man in the world. There is somebody out there for you. And maybe some of you just need to stay single for a while and learn yourself and discover yourself and get the healing that you need, instead of taking all of that baggage into the next relationship. Because that's not going to fix your trauma. It's not going to fix your issues. Sometimes it just makes it worse. Nobody can heal you. They can help add to your healing, but nobody can heal you at the end of the day. So of course, relationships can be complicated. We don't hide from that. We don't run from that. It's obvious that relationships can be complicated. There's going to be some tension. There's going to be some friction. There's going to be some arguments that's going to take place. There's going to be some disputes. You're not going to always agree on everything. So these are the things that are realistic about dating and relationships that oftentimes people don't want to talk about, because we paint this pretty picture that is so perfect. My marriage is so perfect. We never argue. We never had any issues. What planet are you living on? Some people have given up on dating altogether, and I know people personally that have just given up on dating altogether and have embraced their singleness fully. And can I tell you something? There is absolutely nothing wrong with that. I personally hold to the belief that if I am going to be difficult or hard or complicated, I could do that on my own. How many of y'all remember that movie Tyler Perry did called I Can Do Bad by Myself? I can do bad by myself. If I want to argue all day with someone, I'll just choose to argue with myself. It all depends on what you're willing to tolerate and what you're willing to deal with. But when you sign up for this is what you're really asking for. You know, I keep it real here. I didn't come here to tell you that, dating is going to be easy and everything's just going to be like peaches and cream. It's not always like that. Especially to you ladies who watch those soap operas and stuff and you think that stuff is real. That stuff don't happen in real life. If it means waiting until you find the one that's perfect for you, do it. Notice I said finding the one that's perfect for you, which means I would like to destroy that notion that you're looking for the perfect man or the perfect woman. That is not reality. But it is possible to find someone that's perfect for you. I hear people say all the time, I'm looking for a perfect man, I'm looking for a perfect woman. I'm like, let me know when you find him. Let me know when you find her, because you want. Most people say that dating is now harder than it has ever been. Many people have said that dating is now, these days, harder than it was years ago. Some have even stated that dating in today's society has even a different outlook, a different meaning than it did then. Can we agree, especially if you are single, that the dating scene has drastically changed? And if so, can you ask yourself, why? Why has the dating scene changed? What does a real date means anymore? What does a real date, what does that even look like? In today's world, today's society, it means watching a movie and then after the movie, bam, bam. You know what I mean when I say that? That's what today's dating is. And I'm not saying collectively everyone. I know everyone don't do that. I've had my share of doing that in the past, so I'm guilty of it. I've evolved, I've grown since then, so I understand now. That is not a real date. That's not even dating. For many people, it's just a one-night stand. Some call me an old soul, and they used to offend me, but I'm actually comfortable with that. And that maybe I need to catch up with time. That's why I've had people tell me, you need to catch up with time, Henry. And if you believe that, I understand. But my perspective of dating is like so many old souls out there today that's watching right now or that agrees with what I'm saying. I'd rather be an old soul than to connect with someone that I am not destined or designed or created to be with. That's the scary part about dating, because you can date somebody, that don't mean that they're going to be in your life forever. Is it hurtful? Is it painful that they left or walked away or broke up with you? Yes, it's painful. But you have to go in with this mindset. It's like I call it a trial period. You got to do a trial period to see and watch them. I'm talking about carefully observe them, their behavior, how they treat their kids, how they treat other people. Watch them, because how they treat other people will be an indication with how they treat you. That's one thing I've always done, even in the dating scene, is that, like, for example, when it comes to my daughter, I always get to know whoever it is that I'm dating. I always get to know them first. Before that's if they even get the opportunity to meet my child. Because I need to get to know you, because the reality is I don't know you. You don't get to know somebody in a month or two, or not even 3 months. Sometimes you get to learn and know somebody over time. You don't finally reach a place where, oh, I finally know everything about you. No, you don't. You get to know someone over time as time develops and moves on. So I take it as a badge of honor that people call me an old soul, because I'm just not going to settle. I'm not going to settle. I'm not going to be with a woman that's not going to treat me right. I'm not going to be with a woman that wants to argue all day. I'm not going to be with a woman that's going to treat me with disrespect. I'm not going to be with a woman that's going to use her past. I'm not going to be with a woman that's going to use her past against me. Like, for an example, maybe she had a bad experience with an ex. And then her bad experience with her ex is she's starting to project that pain onto you now. Now, keep in mind, you never hurt her or you never hurt him. But because you're there in their life, all they can say is, well, my ex used to do this to me and my ex did that to me. The reality of it is sometimes you just got to tell them in the dating scene, I am not your ex. I am not here to hurt you. I'm not here to harm you. I'm different. And sometimes even saying that doesn't convince them, especially if they've been traumatized or anything like that. So that's very important. So I'm an old soul. I hope you are too. Whatever happened to truly getting acquainted and knowing someone, there are many things that can make one feel or believe that dating is so complicated. Ultimately, I think that dating is complicated is when you present an image of yourself that is not authentically you. People do that all the time. And the reason why we do that because we have been taught to accept people at face value without asking any type of questions and truly getting to know someone. Dating today is defined as looks. Boy, she looks so good. He smells so good. She looks so good. Oh, her hair. That's many people's ideal of dating, and then we connect with that person based on the external. I'm teaching really good than some of y'all commenting right now. We base everything on the external. He looks great. He's hot. He's this. He's a hunk, or whatever you want to call him. And then you find out he's a narcissist or he's a monster. Oh, I didn't realize he was that way. I had a lady tell me not too long ago. She said, well, you know, when I first met him, he wasn't the way that he is now. They never are. You know why? Because you learn somebody over time. And right on the first date or whatever, you're not going to see how crazy they are. She could be a lunatic. He could be a lunatic. You don't know. You really don't know, because a lot of people are not going to show you their real self. So unfortunately, we find out later the false image that they were portraying, and it finally becomes exposed, and they don't like that. When you bring it to their attention and they ask you, well, how did you make me feel? How did you make me feel? And then you finally come out and say, well, this is how you made me feel, and et cetera, and et cetera. And then they can't handle it because they finally become exposed and you saw them for who they are. And thank God some of you seen that before you said, I do to him or to her. Show me the real you. What does that even look like? What does that mean? If many of us went into relationships showing who we really were, do you think some of us would even be in relationships today? Do you think some of us would have even gotten married? Dating is difficult for some because we expect perfection. And when we don't find it, we move on, sometimes to the next person. Some of you may have someone in your life that has been good to you, but because he or she wasn't perfect or what you wanted them to be, you moved on, and many of you have even downgraded. Why would you go from an upgrade to a downgrade? Maybe he wasn't as perfect as you thought he should be. Maybe she wasn't as perfect as you thought she should be. But why would you downgrade and go be with somebody else? That's a downgrade. Is that because that's what you're familiar with? You're familiar with people who treat you like garbage? You're familiar with people who abuse you and talk down to you all the time and disrespectful to you? Is that what you are accustomed to? Why would you downgrade? Dating is complicated because it is very, very, very common to search what's wrong in a person rather than looking for what's right. We see that happening a lot too. That makes dating very complicated. It's hard being with someone who always views you as a problem or always sees everything that you do is wrong. It is. It's very hard. It is unrealistic to expect an intense spark from the start. And in the real dating world, it just doesn't happen that way. Dating is complicated because we compare our relationships with others. Oh, I wish my relationship would look like that. Oh, their dating looks wonderful. I wish it was like that. But they don't tell you all the work and the tears and the pain and the heartache and the crying and all this that they've had to go through to get to where they're at. Yes, they've been together 5, 10, 15, 20 years, but it hasn't always been that way. Never compare who you are to somebody else, and never compare your dating to the way somebody else dates. I wish I had the perfect marriage. There's no such thing as the perfect marriage or the perfect relationship. It goes back to what I said earlier. Do you remember? I said, number one, no human beings are without flaw. Number two, humanity as a whole is complicated, whether it wants to admit it or not. It is. Chemistry is important in dating. This doesn't mean that you're going to have everything in common. That's another thing. If you're one of those women, I want a man that's going to agree with everything I say, and we're going to have everything in common. You won't. Now, I think it's important that you do have some things in common and some things that you're compatible with, but you're not going to see eye to eye on everything, and that's okay, and you have to be okay with that. If you're not okay with that, you're not ready for dating. Maybe right here I could take a pause and say, are you sure you're ready for dating? Because it's a sacrifice. It's a sacrifice. I understand that this ideal of a complicated dating may vary from person to person, but hopefully my message today will create a healthy dialogue as to why dating is so complicated these days. Because I shared how I felt about it. I believe it can be complicated. I agree with what my friend said earlier, what she was telling me. She says, I don't believe dating is complicated. She said, I believe our perception and how we view it is complicated. When we have these unrealistic expectations, when we look for perfection, you're looking for the perfect man, the perfect woman, it just doesn't happen that way. So let me know your thoughts in the comment sections right down there. Let me know, why do you think dating is complicated? If dating hasn't worked out for you in a while, what are some red flags that you look for? Just talk to me in the comment section. Let me know. Thank you for watching. As I always say at the end of the program, if you've enjoyed today's show, please hit the like button. Please comment and share. Share today's broadcast. And thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for you watching. I really value you. I appreciate you for being our viewing audience. God bless you.
We hope you have enjoyed today's program. We want to connect with you. Visit us at facebook.com/The Brother Henry and You Show, or visit us on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Henry Harris 100. We're so grateful you tuned in today and hope you have a fantastic day.